This is NPR News.
Support for WNYC comes from The Orchid Show, Natural Heritage at the New York Botanical Garden. Guest designer Lily Kwong creates vibrant displays inspired by her ancestral connections to the natural world. Now through April 23rd. Tickets at nybg.org.
Governor Phil Murphy says he'll lower corporate taxes in New Jersey to create a more business-friendly state.
Will mean more money for them to create jobs, to invest in new and more efficient equipment, to lower costs to consumers, and to be able to stay here.
But without that $1 billion in revenue, who will foot the bill? I'm Nancy Solomon. Join me for Ask Governor Murphy. We'll ask him about that, the election transparency bill, and take your calls. Tonight at 7 on WNYC.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on 93.9 FM. Let's check in with London and see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm James Menendez. Today on NewsHour, the world's facing a looming water crisis because of pollution and overconsumption. That's the warning from the UN today ahead of a major summit in New York. Also, how the Israeli government's proposed judicial reforms have exposed the deep rifts in society. Tim Franks is there for us. That's BBC NewsHour at 9 on 93.9 FM, WNYC.
48 and partly cloudy now, on our way to a partly sunny day, the high near 60. It's WNYC at 8:52.
We're leading with information on how much to ask for when negotiating a new job.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by UKG, an HR payroll and workforce management solution designed to help make a fairy tale workplace a reality. UKG, our purpose is people.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. 8 states have now passed laws requiring companies to include a salary range in all job postings. More than a quarter of all U.S. workers live somewhere with a pay transparency law, according to a new analysis from the National Women's Law Center. And 16 more states, plus D.C., are working on these. Marketplace's Samantha Fields has more.
Right after New York City's pay transparency law went into effect last fall, social media blew up with examples of absurd salary ranges some companies were posting. One at Citigroup was $0 to $2 million. The company later said it was a glitch. But a bunch of companies posted huge ranges that really didn't tell applicants much of anything.
And I think they saw how bad of an idea that was because there was a lot of public backlash.
Andrea Johnson at the National Women's Law Center says that really hasn't been the norm.
The majority of employers are posting real ranges that truly reflect what they're willing to pay, the minimum and the maximum.
It's too soon to tell if pay transparency laws in the U.S. are doing one of the main things they're intended to do, reducing gender and racial wage gaps.
But we do know from other countries that have similar laws that there has been a noticeable effect.
Emiliano Hewitt Vaughn at Pomona College says that's likely to happen here, too.
The challenges are in implementation, enforcement. In the U.S., there hasn't been always great compliance.
And so far, he says, few states seem to be actively enforcing their pay transparency laws. I'm Samantha Fields for Marketplace.
When I was a teenager working at a local radio station in Maine, banks were big advertisers, the Waterville Savings Bank and more, and every single one of the 30 and 60-second commercial spots I would narrate ended with the following 6 syllables: member FDIC. Now, back then, just 4 letters, something to do with not repeating the Great Depression. Well, here in March of 2023, federal deposit insurance has become all too relevant after the failure of 2 banks. Up to $250,000 is what's guaranteed, but Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said yesterday there could be no limit for customers of smaller banks in a crunch, and there are other ways people and businesses can insure everything at the bank. Joining me here in New York is Marketplace's senior economics contributor, Chris Farrell. Good to see you.
It's great to see you.
I think by now, most people listening know that they're insured up to $250,000 at the bank of their choice if things were to go south at the bank, right?
Right. So that's the FDIC insured bank, or if it's a credit union, they have their comparable fund. Again, $250,000.
All right. So that's the limit. However, you could have 2 different types of accounts at the same bank. Not 2 same checking accounts for you as an individual, but different categories. What does that mean?
So you open up a joint account.
Like with your spouse?
With your spouse, you open up. And you open this joint account and you put $500,000 into this joint account. It is completely insured because each of you is insured to $250,000. Plus, you each have your own checking and saving account adding up to $250,000. So you are insured at the same bank up to $1 million.
I see. And if you had an individual retirement account at a bank, that would be insured. There are certain things I don't fully understand, like trust accounts, but you have to look up these different categories if you're looking for more than $250,000 at the same bank.
Right. And if you have more than $250,000 at the same bank, I would actually talk to your banker and make sure you understand the rules correctly. But there is another way to do this, which is, hey, Bank A, I got $250,000, I'm insured. Bank B, I got $250,000, I'm insured. Bank C, I got another $250,000, completely insured. You can just open up different accounts at different banks.
It's actually been done. You remember that story? I think Bloomberg News reported on it a while back. Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's Milwaukee Bucks, right?
Great basketball player.
Man knows his way around basketball. He also seems to know how to find deposit insurance in this country.
Well, the owner of Milwaukee Bucks tells a story that he had 50 different accounts at 50 different banks, each at the $250,000 insured limit. His money was safe.
All right. And just in case people have lost the thread, I think we all realize here that not a lot of people listening right now have more than $250K, and therefore you shouldn't worry about this.
Don't worry about it. And by the way, you can go onto the website of the FDIC. It actually has a really good estimator for you.
Always good to talk to Marketplace's senior economics contributor, Chris Farrell. Thank you.
Thanks.
And the Marketplace team here has more handy guides to FDIC insurance at our digital address, marketplace.org. About 5 hours from now, we'll get the bulletin about whether the Federal Reserve has opted to raise interest rates again amid the new uncertainties of the banking mess. We're expecting a small increase, 1/4 percentage point perhaps. The 10-year interest rate now up at 3.63%. S&P futures are down a smidge. Dow futures are unchanged.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by JLL, a leasing, management, investment, and technology company dedicated to creating a brighter future for the world of commercial real estate. JLL.com. See a brighter way.
Google is rolling out its own version of an artificial intelligence-powered chatbot. This one's called Bard, not to be confused with ChatGPT via Microsoft Bing. Now, with Bard, it's like a new restaurant. There's a wait list to get in. Marketplace's Nova Safo has more.
Google is playing catch-up after Microsoft's early lead in AI threatened the dominant search engine and the ad revenues that come with that dominance. And Google does have some catching up to do. In early February, when the company unveiled Bard, the AI flubbed its entrance, including a factual error in response to a query. AI engineers call these errors hallucinations when a chatbot makes up answers. Bard's hallucinations sent Alphabet stock plummeting, wiping out $100 billion in value. ChatGPT has had problems as well, such as a conversation with a New York Times columnist in which the chatbot declared its love and tried to convince him to leave his wife. Google is taking a cautious approach to Bard. It's limiting the amount of interaction and providing a good old-fashioned search box next to the chatbot to double-check its answers. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Now, Elon Musk has his rockets, Jeff Bezos, so does another high-profile entrepreneur, Richard Branson, but Virgin Orbit staff has been on hiatus as the company tries to avoid bankruptcy after some launch system failures. Reuters is now reporting that company is close to a $200 million cash infusion, and some staff members are being reactivated. Stock right now is up 78%. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report. APM, American Public Media.
WNYC is supported by FX's Great Expectations. With Olivia Colman and Finn Whitehead, the new series follows an orphan as he meets a mysterious woman who shows him a dark world of possibilities. Streaming March 26th, only on Hulu.
Up next, the BBC NewsHour on 90.